Testing. Alright, the Florida Railroad Museum, preserving Florida's railroad history. Car host training, welcome aboard, March 2010, Florida Railroad Museum. Car host manual, table of contents, introduction, safety, responsibilities, car host knowledge and skills, history of the right-of-way, history of the museum, history of Willow, the town and the mill, museum equipment, locomotives FGCX 100, FGCX 1822 and 1835, FGCX 1633, the Gardner 61, the Betty 12, the passenger equipment Seaboard Coach 82, 1, DNL coaches 3518, 3572, New Georgia coach, Mopac caboose 12070, freight equipment, maintenance of the way of equipment. The safety of our passenger, our crew, and the public and the museum property is of our highest priority. Introduction. On the behalf of the Florida Railroad Museum, I want to welcome you aboard our trains as a car host trainee. A position car host is described as an entry-level train service duty, but is hardly entry-level in terms of its importance. Car host performs its vital services ensuring passenger safety. Most important objective of all train crew members that they work more closely with the passengers than any other member of the crew, welcoming them, helping them aboard, finding seats, securing windows for them in open multiple unit cars. Once underway, car host informs and entertains our visitors, makes their railroad experience more enjoyable by seeing to their needs, providing information about destinations, town Willow, the train, the history of the line, and the museum. If, for those reasons, the museum and the genuine interest in seeing the car hosts are well trained, the following materials have been prepared to assist you in becoming the best car host you can be. Please read them carefully. Take advantage of the knowledge and experience of the car host trainers who you will work with throughout your training. The information and skills you learn are the fundamental advancement, trainment, next stop, and promotional processes. Thank you for volunteering. I wish you every success as a car host. Best regards, William Poe 3, Certifying Conductor, Florida Railroad Museum. Car host manual, safety evidence of first importance in discharge of duty. All train crew members are issued the book of safety rules, which you must understand and have available at all times. The information below is only the most basic and important. You must know and shall not supersede any other rule, notice, or general order. 1. Do not board or detrain moving equipment. 2. Keep clear of standing and moving equipment. 3. Do not stand on tracks. 4. Do not board or detrain passengers until permission is given from the conductor. When in doubt, take the safest route. Responsibilities. Every 1 after 100 hours, Wednesday, June 10, 2009, a revised car host training program will be implemented, which includes all the current requirements for the car host contained in table number 4, pages 9 through 10. In addition, several new requirements and features, including new title, car host trainer. Car host will be responsible for the following information: history of the Florida Railroad Museum right-of-way, Florida Railroad Museum equipment roster, summary histories of the town of Willow and the Florida Railroad Museum. 4. Demonstrate mastery of the knowledge skills included in the car host knowledge skill checklist. Car hosts must bring all training materials with them when they report for train service. Car host trainers will supervise the training evaluation of all car hosts according to the following guidelines. 1. Car hosts will schedule train service through the crew caller at frrm.org. After they have first coordinated the choice of work and dates of the car host with the car host trainer, the car hosts are required to work with the car host trainer each time they volunteer for train service. No more than 2 car hosts may work at one time. Within the car host trainer, only a single leg of the parish will Willow round trip. Unless special need arrangements have been made previously with the crew caller, car host will begin and end their work day at Willow's yard. They must report to the car host trainer when they arrive. Car host trainer will instruct the required knowledge, skills, demonstrate proper technique. Car hosts must work with each car host trainer until they are promoted to trainmen. Car hosts will advance at their own pace and will make sufficient numbers of the trips necessary to demonstrate mastery of the required knowledge skills to be promoted to trainmen. Promotion decisions will be based on a consensus evaluation for both car house trainer plus a passing score on the safety rules examination. Thank you, William Poe, through the certified conductor. Car host knowledge and skills. Passenger boarding training. Operation of car vestibule traps, boarding ramp placement, removal and storage. Loading platform gates, chains, mobility impaired wheelchair bounds, passenger loading, seating wheelchair placement. Listening for the all-stop horn signal before detraining. Board detraining at grade. Use step box boarding detraining at a grade. Using step box, ensuring safe detraining by providing physical assistance to passengers descending vestibule steps. Onboard passenger safety. 1. Instruction. Passenger to step over the sliding car buffer plates to avoid injury. Instructing passengers to step over sliding car buffer plates to avoid injury. 2. Prevent riding of the vestibules, running through the cars, consumption of alcoholic beverages. 3. Comply with Florida Clean Air Act, no smoking. 4. Importance of footwear to avoid passenger injury. 5. Ensuring young children are accompanied by adults at all times. 6. Keeping passengers' hands, arms, heads within the multiple unit car windows and open car sides. 7. Opening, pinning, closing multiple unit car windows for passengers. 8. Advising, assisting passengers in steadying themselves against falls while working through the moving train. Medical kits, fire extinguisher, emergency equipment, location and use. Emergency brake valve handles, handbrakes, location and use. Electrical. Power panels, electrical cabinets, circuit breaker locations. Fan light switches, locations, use, AC control operation. Official forms. The service record of the CT-801, passenger medical release, call for the conductor assistance. Membership application. Car cleaning, bathrooms. Cleaning sinks, toilets, resupply, paper goods, soap, replacement of air fresheners. So car cleaning, bathroom cleaning, sinks, toilets, resupply, paper goods, soap, replacement, air fresheners, sweeping, vacuuming, car floors and carpets, disposal of trash, replacement, trash, car liners, end of the work day. 4. Wiping seats of moisture, dirt as required, location cleaning, supply storage, vacuum cleaners, brooms, and trash liners, other. Concession stands, operating, supply, storage, cash handling, cast pouch, security, passenger car locomotive types, histories, air-conditioned cars, train route destination, history of the right-of-way, narration of highlights, Nicholas Station, Florida Railroad Museum, Florida Power Light Company relationship, Town of Willow, lumber operation history, yard tour. Florida Railroad Museum. 1. Founding history and mission. 2. Funding membership internet website. 3. Special events and services, locomotive rentals, caboose charters, other and future plans. Public relations, proper dress, required uniform, professional, friendly demeanor, usable, acceptable speech. Greet passengers on arrival, answering questions, resolving problems, ensuring passenger comfort and enjoyment. Knowing when to call the conductor for assistance. Thanking passenger for patronage on detraining. Representing the FRM in the best possible manner at all times. Note, train service is physically demanding work. Car hosts must be able to stand for long periods of time, be able to balance themselves while walking, standing, and moving equipment, and be strong enough to be able to provide physical assistance to passengers who are boarding and detraining, as well as in emergencies. Reminder, page of intentionally left blank. History of the right-of-way. The line on which Florida Railroad Museum was opened in 1903 as the Florida West Indies Railroad Steamship Company. An ambiguous as its sounding, colorful name and typical of many of the American early railroad lines, it was a subsidiary of the Seaboard Line Railroad, and after a few years the original name was dropped in favor of parent company name. The name had nothing to do with traveling by wing aircraft, but the notion faster, most direct services with rail lines that connected cities as a bird flies through the air. Alright, the Seaboard went back to 1832 in Virginia. Throughout the rest of the 19th century and the first part of the 20th century, the Seaboard expanded north and south throughout southeast, reaching cities such as Richmond, Norfolk, Wilmington, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Atlanta, Savannah, points west of Alabama. As to the peak of the Seaboard was 4,000-mile system. Essentially, it went everywhere its fierce competitor, the Atlantic coastline, went, and it was not surprising the two railroads merged in 1967. The track over which we ride was the Seaboard lines connecting Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota, and Venice. In 1967, the Seaboard SAL merged with its rival Atlantic coastline ACL to form the Seaboard Coastline. SCL, later Seaboard Coastline, merged with several other city lines to form today's modern CSXT, or CSX Transportation. The CSX Transportation System, one of the major Class 1 freight railroad companies in the United States. Following the Seaboard Coastline merger, the route was slowly abandoned with the duration of Hillsborough County and Elenton and Manatee County. The railroad favored the parallel Atlantic coastline lines along US 41 to West Parish because of the superior operating characteristic. Today the line is still in use and sees substantially CSX freight traffic, including famous Tropicana products incorporated orange juice trains between Bradenton and Kearney, New Jersey. Upon abandonment, 15 miles of the southern end of the exit of Seaboard Atlantic, the Seaboard airline route, the Elton Willow, was purchased for the Florida Power Light Company to preserve railroad access to the power plant near Parish. In 1992, the Federal Railroad Museum secured an agreement with the Florida Power Light Company to operate tourist trains over Parish to the Willow section of the line. Parish itself was once an important point of the route, a prosperous, growing community, with two groceries, dry goods stores, restaurants, hotels, barbershop, churches, post office, doctor's office. The railroad offered direct access to the market, local grown fruit and vegetables, major industry in the area. The original depot was located just west of the railroad at the grade crossing of the Route US 301. Residents could also ride local passenger services to Bradenton in the morning and return in the afternoon. The last such train operated in 1968. The line also hosted some of the Seaboard Airline greatest passenger train, including Tampa to Venice section of famous Silver Metro passenger service to Venice was discontinued in 1971. Alright, in 1961, map of the Seaboard Airline Road, Willow Parish, located middle of the diagram. So here's Willow and Parish on the Seaboard Airline Railroad, and it goes all from Plant City to Sarasota. History of the Museum by H.C. Massera. Florida Railroad Museum was born in 1982 with the Florida Gulf Coast Railroad Museum after 7 founding members donated $100 each to incorporate open checking account. One of the founders, Jim Herron, owned a number of Missouri Pacific cabooses. He loaned one of those 12070. The museum acts as a starting point of our future. Jim was the broker for the railroad equipment. A number of the Missouri Pacific cabooses can be seen in the Tampa Bay area as offices and cottages. We repainted the caboose and Seaboard coastline. The result of the 1967 the merger of the Seaboard Airline and Atlantic Coastline Coastline Railroads took into Tampa Union Station to meet the Gold Coast Railroad Museum presidential car for Ferdinand Magellan coming from Miami on the rear Amtrak Silver Palm. For the weekend, we ran a joint railroad weekend with the Gold Coast as our first fundraising event and kicking off the opening of the museum membership to the public. Around this time, the Tampa Bay Charter of the National Railway Historical Society donated Southern Railway baggage car number 142 to use, and we had to move it to the northern Tampa. We had moved it from northern Tampa to join the caboose and storage of Florida cement of Adamo Drive. Jim Herring caught Richard Dick Sanborn. Seaboard Coastline president begged for a locomotive from Seaboard Coastline. They donated the SW9, or the American Atlantic Coastline number 648, and it derailed when brought to our storage site. At about the old Tampa Yard, the former freight yard, Meridian Street, was closing its office. Martin Burroughs had a number of cars that had to be moved. We arranged to move them to our site. They promptly derailed, blocking the entrance to Florida Ship Repair Company and ticking off the management of the years to come. The museum plans at the time were to buy or have Cosme Spur donated a line with the running of the northwestern direction from town and country toward Tarpon Springs, Newport Richey, and Alfers. Residential growth of the area effectively killed this plan. We were looking for other locations for a future site. One problem developed when the Florida Cement started receiving cement in rail cars. We had to relocate. We renegotiated the Seaboard Coastline, moved the old division headquarters to Adamo Drive. Jim Herron moved the two sleepers from South Petersburg to store them with our equipment. During the period, he acquired a Cap Tormentine from Viva Rail in Canada, arranged for a truck swamp through the Martin Burroughs EXIC Diner South Seaboard Coastline. In exchange for the Clinchfield number 100 private car, we ran the 100 for on the Silver Palm to Miami. Couple funding raisers took the Cape Tormentine to Washington, D.C. for a private varnish convention along with Jim's ex-Viva Florida East Coast Railroad sleeper. Later, the generator was placed in the Cape Tormentine. It ran weekend trains, trips to Savannah on the back scheduled Amtrak's train. Somewhere in the same period, the New Jersey Transit shut down of the Delaware-Lackawanna Western Railroad electrical operations, converting those lines from 3,000 volt DC to 11,000 volt AC, compatible with the Northeast Corridor Northern New Jersey auction off the 1930s built multiple unit operation cars. We bid on 2 cars for the Gulf Coast, bid of 5. We won. The cars were moved from 7-car cut on the rear of the Northern New Jersey Waycross, Georgia, and the Gold Coast member rode them to this point, took a Gold Coast car down to Miami. The Woody Masera, another founding member, rode the museum 2 cars down to Tampa. Cars 3518 and 3572 are still used today as demotored open window coaches. While the division headquarters on the site will be obtained our tool car, the ex-fruit growers express fruit refrigerator car, former Atlantic Coast Line head end reefer Mika Stratus, another founding member, brought the stainless steel baggage car from almost defunct Royal American shows. We cleaned and re-lettered the car of the Atlantic Coast Line. Amtrak expressed a desire for a baggage car, and we swapped it for 2 American Locomotive Company RS3s, one operating the other parts, but both movable on their own wheels. A couple members went to Wilmington and Delaware, selected Amtrak engines 114 and 133. Jim Huron, Bob Wright rode them from Wilmington to Richmond, Virginia, where the Seaboard Coastline delayed them badly to the 2 men. Had to abandon the trip, but the 2 men had to abandon the trip and fly home. Somehow, the engines were split up, one ending up in Hampton Roads, Virginia, the other Waycross, Georgia. They eventually found their way to Adamo Drive location just in time for eviction as CSX Transportation Seaboard Coastline successor had sold the property. Jim Herron found the close prospect plant of the Manatee County in a pinpoint, negotiated a lease with the owners. It was there we got the RS3 number 133 running, demonitored Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western multiple unit cars, Western Railroad multiple unit cars, completed lots of work on the other equipment. CSX barred repainting the switcher SW9 number 648 on our Missouri Pacific caboose for Family Day at the Utica Yard facility in Tampa. Our mission people, our staff of the CSX farewell to the Tarpon Springs train ride when the line was abandoned. We revived the Cape Tormentine from the trip's operated concession phosphate location lasted only a year or two when the property was all sold. Once again, the museum was homeless. Jim Herron found another location at the Tampa Electric Plant at Big Bend. Again, the entire collection of the equipment was moved to a new home. His Tampa Electric Company, we got the RS3 number 114 and 648 running, brought them the Atlantic Coastline tanker car from a scraper in Tampa. We have a great deal of machinery donated from the benefactor of Burlington, Alabama. Moved the Big Ben installed within the Fruit Growers Express tool car. We also purchased the Kentucky Club Tavern Lounge car, ex-American Atlantic Coastline 1116, and ex-Illinois Central 2682 from the Royal American Shows. Mike McStratus brought us to the ex-Biltmore, Ohio caboose, Northern Folk. Western caboose was donated to Northern Folk Southern Corp. We sold one of the sleepers Jim Herron had given them to the museum, scrapped two donated boxcars in St. Petersburg, and moved the other two cars to Big Bend where they were used for storage. While we were at Big Bend, the Agricultural Phosphate Company approached us to run the employee special over the private railroad in the Bone Valley. A payment for use of our equipment, purchased the generator installed under the Kentucky Club, did some duct work and the fan shroud, ran 2 or 3 car trains, one with the Kentucky Club multiple unit Missouri Pacific caboose, the others with the Cape Tormentine and the multiple unit of the B&O caboose. They were very successful trips. In late 1970, the Seaboard Coastline abandoned with the Paris subdivision ran with the Durant, Florida, with the Palmetto. The southern end of the Willow to Palmetto had been sold with the Florida Power Light for access to the plant near Paris. In the mid-1980s, we negotiated with the CSX to buy the remainder from Durant to Willow, but CSX wanted $830,000 for the 20.5 miles, which was over our heads. Northern 10 miles was equipped with a 100-pound relay rail, which CSX wanted to use the 100-pound relay rail, which CSX wanted to use, and in the rebuilding of the Reichard in Waycross, Georgia. We continued to dicker, finally got them to leave 2 miles of the rail intact of the future operation north of Willow. Section included the Thorough Truss Bridge over the Little Manatee River. 1988, the Tampa Electric Company purchased all 20.5 miles for future power line right away. This left 1,400-foot-long stretch between Tampa Electric Company and Florida Power and Light. With the museum purchase, we moved the little 040 steam locomotive with Lowry Park Zoo to that location. Later trucked in the Betty number 12 steam locomotive, which was donated by Ed Ryan, which we decided to approach a very negative Florida Power and Light for a lease on the southern portion of the line. Jim Herron, Mike Mastratus, Woody Massara, and Bob Wright hammered out the agreement, resulting in a 20-year lease. The problem now faced the museum was startup money. The board of directors decided only an asset which we could have be readily converted to cash as a Switcher SW9 locomotive in 1991. We sold the Florida Sand Davenport, Florida. September of the year, museum moved the major portion of equipment of the Florida Power and Light property, ran northern to our 1,400-foot stretch of track, ran the new trial free trips to get people to train and show the public we had to offer. Our first year operation was 1992, when it was one of the most successful sold-out train charter trips, caboose party special events. Since then, we have purchased a former Pennsylvania Railroad sleeper, the Bradenton. 2 railroad cars were purchased, Ringling Brothers Circus, the Shortleaf Pine, and the 89-foot flat car, which we converted into an open-air car. An Pennsylvania Railroad gondola was brought from CSX, converted into an open car, purchased former New Georgia Railroad air-conditioned 44-seat coach car, 2 ex-U.S. Army EMD GP7 locomotives, 822-1835 ex-U.S. Navy GE 44-ton locomotive, number 100, donated to the museum. 2009, the museum sold the Kentucky Club lounge car to the Kentucky Railroad Museum, sending the car home. 3-way trade between the Kentucky Railroad Museum and the Florida Federal Railroad Administration was also arranged in 2009. The Cape Tormentine would go through FRA with a refurbishment as an inspection car, exchanging with the Seaboard Coastline Heavyweight Coach 821. The swap most closely aligns the museum with the Florida Heritage. Also, it works as a former Seaboard Jim Crow car located within northern Florida, which will be outright purchased by one or more of our members. Mosaic Company donated 3 dry rock hopper cars, a staple of Florida's Bone Valley phosphate operation. Mulberry Rail Car Repair graciously donated time and materials preparing and repainting each car. Transportation from Mulberry to the museum was arranged by the CSX Transportation at no cost to the museum. The cars are now on display in Paris next to US 301, with one sporting the Atlantic coastline paint and one seaboard coastline colors, and the final car wearing Mosaic titles. The future. The museum was purchased an additional property at Willow, currently rents out the houses it owns there. We are in the process of building a shop maintenance storage yard at Willow, clearing the remains of the old lumber mill for future restoration and display. Picnic area and the station display buildings are also planned at the Willow. We someday hope the negotiation purchase the Little Manatee River Bridge right of the way of Salfold Road, extend our run through this 100-year-old bridge. Other future plans include property purchase in Parish and a main station, a small station, Dickey Road, with a siding major right-of-way rehabilitation. To this end, the museum has donated various pieces of maintenance-of-way equipment, a backhoe, high rail vehicle, various hand and power tools. The museum owns a lot of material desperately needed to display. In addition, some of the other members have private owned equipment being restored at the museum future display and operation. We also have the ex-Missouri, Kansas, Texas Railroad coach, sort of tapping Union Station. The Missouri, Kansas, Texas Railroad can car along with the ex-American Atlantic Coastline 1116 and the IC 2682 as candidates in future restoration operation. The Betty number 12 steam engine is a possibility for a restoration operation, would be an ideal locomotive for the operation. We have run the plans, continue very successful cabooses, train, and locomotive charters. We have sponsored a day out with Thomas, the engine that could, a month of steam, and Easter Bunny specials, Halloween special, North Pole Express, annual Veterans Day, Von Kissinger Express, World War II special, Northern South Days, Hole in the Head Gang train robbery events. Will welcome moms and dads with complimentary admission on Father's Day, offers complimentary rides to Southeastern guide dogs for training purposes. Museum continues to pursue its goals of operating number 40, number 50's Aero Museum while preserving artifacts, equipment, particular to our area and industrial architectural heritage. Alright, the history of Willow, the town and mill. In 1923, the Fauché family moved the Fauché Lumber Company from southern Alabama to the 54,000 acres leased timberland located in Manatee, Hillsborough County line. As part of the lease, they were required to erect a mill. Certain size, capacity, and percentage of the mill output went to the property owner, and the owner also reserved the turpentine rights to itself. The mill opened in early 1924, and 70 to 80 houses sprang up in the mill town over the Willows. At some point during the startup, the McGowan family rejoined with the Fauchés, formed McGowan Fauché Lumber Company. They operated the mill until Flashy sold their interest to the J.I. Robbins in 1926. The Robin family and the J.F. McGowan retained the name that ran the mill and purchased 40,000 acres of timberland, some of it former leased land. The site contained a sawmill, planter mill, dry clen, large storage yard. The company owned many miles of the railroad as well as locomotive log loaders, log cars. The town had a commissary and separate living quarters for black and white employees and dependents, including church and black school. The Robbins family ran the mill for about a decade, produced around 50,000 boarded feet of lumber a day, mostly longleaf, yellow pine, genomian prime. These trees were 85% heartwood, hard, durable, contained more pitch than the Alabama timber that had previously been milled. There were no cypress trees in the timberland. The mill produced small dimension lumber such as 2x4s, 2x6s, board, plank, siding, flooring, roofing. Finished lumber was shipped by train to banana docks on the Seaton Island in Tampa. Exported destinations such as Italy, southern France, Belgium, Africa, Germany, northern Netherlands were the dancer exporting company. During the Great Depression, the price of lumber fell below the cost of producing it, and the mill was closed in 1929. Until the prices recovered in 1931. Unfortunately, the balance of the timber was damaged by windshake and red heart disease. The company was dissolved in September 1936. The mill was moved over the next few months to a new company, Robbins Manufacturing Company, in New Hillsborough County. During mill operation, the log train consisted of 18 to 20 cars, each holding 4,000 boarded feet down lumber. Back at the mill site each day, the logging operation, Clyde loader loaded it from a rear forward. Only brakes on the train were those on the engine. The car was mostly home-built vehicles, about 28 feet in length. Loader straddled the track and train loaded with the high spot of the track ran down the incline either side of the loader side. The loader was steam-powered. Loggers used the dead wood along the side of the track on its fire boilers. Loading operation was usually completed by 1:32 o'clock. The train was sent to the mill, where it typically arrived in sunset and was unloaded immediately. Spur tracks were laid, and the track crew picked up the mile track per day. They used the machine pulled by engine number 6 Baldwin, built straight stack steam locomotive imported from Cole County up north. Mainline was good quality, but the spur tracks rather crude, consistent rough ties, light 40-pound rail, and was very lucky day when the log train did not derail on the spur. Re-railing was accomplished through down cross ties, letting the train drag itself back onto the rail. Locomotive number 102 was a cabbage stacked engine that brought timber from the Miyaka to the mill. Engine was scraped and the boiler sold. The local residents would use the power his small mill near US 301. The final engine, Lima built number 4, was fixed 5 to 6 tons lighter than number 6 and was power enough to pull the entire log train, while putting a much easier burden on the rudimentary spur tracks. Alright, the logging crew worked 5 days a week, were off on Saturday and most of the Sunday. Sunday afternoons they loaded 6 camper cars at the mill with supplies for a coming week, and the log train supplied with equipment for its Monday morning run. The camper cars consisted of a cook car, dining car, sleeping cars, and a blacksmith car. Provide some idea of the size of the operation. James Robin operated a turpentine still at the south end of the timberland on South Side Highway Route 70. It consisted of the 10 sections of the timber. The pitch was collected in cups, transferred to the barrels, hauled to the mill, and distilled. Turpentine was then loaded into the tanker cars and sent to the market. The lumber operation rail system joined the Seaboard Mine Line north of the mill, crossed the Seaboard Atlantic Line, Sea Airline, Maine, the Seaboard Airline, Maine at Lock Crossing of the present-day Spur, Florida Power FPL plant located. The old right-way is still visible, property owned by the museum. Willow was a self-contained community which employed between 200 and 300 people. The company furnished electricity, water system, medical care, commissioner store. The Seaboard Atlantic line had a station water tank. Willow, the post office, was located north of the station. East side of the right-of-way, the town's main road ran north of the Willow Road. On the road with the commissionary mill offered family housing. Lastly, a board housing for single men. A road continued north while the two rows of the housing of the black workers and their dependents, a black school and a black church. White children were bused to school in Wamama, for WIMAWMA. For the north, there was a juke joint on the banks of the Little Manatee River close to the shallows known as the Willows Crossing. Potable water was provided as far as the main street. Each house had to tie into the line using a spigot in the front. Each house was furnished with a septic tank, and electricity was provided with a 50 horsepower DC generator as a mill. Medical attention was provided by a physician who lived along the Willow Road. Lumber company's employees were paid daily, and time checks could be exchanged with the commissionary company scripts or goods. Change was given in baba, brass coins, 5, 10, 15, 25-cent donations. Wages were 8 to 10 cents an hour. Certain skilled positions, saw filer, planter, mill operators, boiler, firemen, train crew, especially mill's head sawers, were paid well. Social activity in town revolved around commissionary powers. During Prohibition, bootleggers was allowed to operate in town. Interestingly, accepted company script as payment. Company tolerated prostitutes as at the single men's boarding house, as well as the juke joint. Although it did not sanction these practices, it realized that they were a necessary part of the fairly isolated rural life. Automobiles were scarce, and the community was very tightly knit, ambient, and segregated as well with the entire nation at the time. Occasionally, rival shows would pass through town. Social barriers were somewhat relaxed as a result. In later years, the whole town would turn out to watch one of the Seaboard Airline premier passenger trains, the Silver Metro, flashed by one of the main line, in which the first train Willow residents has seen powered by diesel-electric locomotives. The mill whistle blew at 5 a.m. An electrical generator was started. The second whistle at 6 a.m. signaled the start of the workday. The generator shut down at 9 p.m. each evening. Company basically dictated the townspeople and rose and retired each day. Today, the mill whistle is in possession of Robbins family, one of the three coreless type of steam engines that power the mill's machinery is located at the Tampa State Fairgrounds, one mounted at the Robbins Manufacturing Company store on North Nebraska Avenue in Tampa, and the others reported moved into the site of Alabama. Alright, museum equipment locomotive, the FGCX-100. The ex-U.S. Navy General Electric 44-ton center cab switch engine, 2 4-cylinder Caterpillar engine, 300 horsepower. The General Electric Corporation 44-ton is called the Industry, where the design rose from the 900,000-pound rule 1937, the national agreement with the railroad carrier with rail protected the fireman's job of any diesel locomotive above the 90,000-pound weight. GE responded to designing switchers that were just under the 45-ton limit, thus legally permitting one-man operation. 44-ton went through many variations in its long production run 1940 to 1956, but numerously units built in 171 Phase 4 type Frrm 100 most likely falls into the group. Originally, most of the Phases number 4 locomotives were powered by 2-cylinder 8-cylinder Caterpillar engines, one under each hood. In 1989, the U.S. Navy contracted mining service company to rebuild the locomotive. It might have been at the time with the original diesel engine. GE control stand, fare, and exhaust stack structures outlined still visible near center line of the cab roof were replaced. The Navy placed locomotive in storage at one of its yards. Not long afterward, the Untitled reported it had only 500 hours of service on it and was donated to the Frrm. Alright, the FGCX 1822 and 1835 ex-U.S. Transportation Corps EMD GP7, the road switcher, non-turbocharged Model 567B, 16-cylinder engine, 1,500 horsepower, General Motor, Electric Division, The EMD GP7 was extremely popular, all-purpose first-generation diesel locomotive model. It was available in both freight and passenger service versions. Over 2,600 were built between 1949 and 1954. However, the only 26 included 1835 and 1822 were built in the Association of American Railroads Type A switcher trucks instead of the more common EMT Blomberg road trucks, making them extremely rare variation. It's remarkable, historically significant. The FRM owns two examples of this type. Locomotives were built in 1951, spent their lives switching the services at Army Military Ocean Terminals, Sun Point, and Sunny Point, North Carolina, before being donated to the museum in 1993. Presently, the 822 is stored out of service and is used for source of parts for the 1835. The FRM primary road locomotive 1835 was painted in its current Louisville, Nashville Railroad livery by Garland and Glenn Miley in 2001. The FGC X1633, X New York City, XPC, X Amtrak, L American Locomotive, Road Switcher, RS3 Road Switcher, 1 turbocharged supermodel 244 12-cylinder engine, 1,600 horsepower. The American Locomotive Company, or ALCO, was one of the finest for the steam locomotive builders in the United States. At the conclusion of the steam era, the American Locomotive Company introduced the road switcher concept with the groundbreaking RS1 design, and later in 1941, offered the RSL3 with a diesel road switcher to complete the EMD, compete with the electric motor division and other diesel locomotive manufactured products. A total of 1,370 of the RS3 were constructed between 1950 and 1956. The 1633 was purchased new by New York Central Railroad, numbered as 8277 suburban commuter passenger service on the Hudson-Harlan Division. It later became a part of the giant Penn Central Transportation Company, New York Central Railroad, Pennsylvania Railroad merger. After Penn Central was bankrupt, locomotives sold to the Amtrak due to the switching service with Washington, D.C. Other locations. Other RS-86004 is stored out of service, has been heavily cannibalized, to keep the 1633 operational. The 8604 in Amtrak XP Pennsylvania Railroad freight only road switch were originally equipped with inductive radio antennas, dynamic brakes. In 1987, the Amtrak desperately needed a working baggage car, as trade was arranged with the museum. The result of the baggage car going to the Amtrak exchange for both the RS3 1633, where he was repainting the current Seaboard Airline Railroad livery. Garland, Glenn Miley in 2002. Short hood houses of a non-working steam generator boiler, a relic from 1633 days, and the commuter service when the passenger cars were heated with steam. Alright, the Gardner number 61, the ex-Union Belt Railroad EMD number NW5 Road Switcher 1 non-turbocharged model 567 and 12-cylinder engines, 1,000 horsepower. This is extremely rare locomotive built with EMD between 1946 and 1947. The steam generator in its short hood. It was remarked specifically as a passenger terminal switcher to compete with the Alco's Road RS1, which made the Pioneer Road Switcher debut in 1941. The NW5 was constructed on a lengthened yard switcher frame equipped with Blomberg road trucks, giving the road locomotive size fuel water tanks. Only the 13 NW5s were built. Two of the NW5s were sold to the Union Belt Railroad out of Detroit as number 1 and number 2, and both were at Fort Street Union Depot. One of the engines renumbered as number 61 and worked to the Mississippi Export Railroad, Gardner Phosphate Company, and the engine was donated to the Cargill Corporation. The BED number 12, the ex-Brooklyn Eastern District Terminal Road Steam Locomotive 06002 T-Wheel Arrangement number 12, tank type, oil-fired steel steam switching locomotive designed for one-man operation on waivers and docks. It was donated on the museum in 1982. Your passenger equipment, the Seaboard Coach 821 heavyweight coach, was built in 1925. American Foundry. The car features open windows, 4 bathrooms, 74 seats. A Jim Crow section of the car operated late with the 1966 Seaboard Airline was later purchased by Clinchfield Railroad with excursion trips. In 1979, the car was donated to the Kentucky Railroad Museum. In 2009, the Florida Railroad Museum traded Cape Tormentine sleeper from the Seaboard Atlantic Line 821 Railroad Line 821, currently depending on the restoration work before going into service museum excursions. The DL and W coaches for 3518 and 3572, built in 1930, the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad commuter service out of the Hoboken, New Jersey, with the cars originally equipped with 70 cane seats. These cars were self-propelled electrical motors powered with the overhead catenary. Typically, several cars were operated multiple units. Multiple units make up the train it consists. These cars operated half a century, eventually began replacing newer equipment. The New Jersey Transit 1983 Museum purchased the cars at the auction in 1984. The car was demotored. All traction elements had been removed. The feature open windows also provided air conditioning. Both cars are currently operating on a weekend and special event excursions. New Georgia coach, built in 1950, the Union Pacific. These seats, this 44-seat air-conditioned coach also ran Alaska Railroad near Atlanta on the Northern New Georgia Railroad. It was purchased by the museum in the 1990s. Current operation weekend excursion services. A generator concession stand had been recently added to the car, reducing capacity to 40 seats. The Missouri Pacific and Texas Pacific system, Missouri Pacific Caboose 12070, built in 1929, the car was used throughout the Missouri Pacific, Texas, and Pacific system till retirement in 1981. It was purchased by a member and donated to the museum. It is now used for the party caboose on weekend excursions. Your freight equipment, the FGCX 12070, ex-Missouri Pacific Caboose, donated by Jim Heron. The Norfolk Western Railroad 518415, donated by the Norfolk Southern Corporation 1987. The C&O Wood Cupola Style Caboose, ex-Chesapeake Ohio Railroad Caboose. The B&O C 2417, ex-Baltimore Ohio Bay Window Wagon Top Caboose, donated with the Mike Mastradis. FGCX 1020, ex-Fruit Growers Express Mechanical Reefer 1027. Car is now equipped with a generator used as an FRM tool car on the Willow. The ACL 50-foot, 50-ton boxcar, Seaboard Atlantic Line, Seaboard Airline Railroad 50-foot, 50-ton boxcar, Seaboard Coastline Ice Reefer equipped with the high-speed trucks, passenger air brakes for the end of the passenger trains. Ex-Pennsylvania Railroad gondola used for the wrecked trains and served the Ohio, converted to a covered open-air car. The FGCX 8510-2, ex-Ringling Brothers Circus flat car, converted to covered open-air car, side loading handicapped access. The Seaboard Airline Railroad boxcar, 40-ton wooden boxcar using Seaboard Coastline and Work Train Services, dried rock hoppers, using Florida Flame, Bone Valley Phosphating Mining Region, transport phosphate rocks to ports of Tampa, now Harbor Island or Baca Grande, donated by Mosaic and repainted by Mulberry Rail Car Repair. Alright, the TPIX 250 1960s X-era Tropicana refrigerated boxcar made thousands of trips hauling fresh orange juice between Tropicana and Bradenton process plant and their distribution center in New Jersey. Alright, your maintenance away equipment, the tamper-tied inserter purchased by the museum in the 2006 operating condition and donated the same year, built for Winchester Western Railroad in 1986. The Arsco tie tamper production switch tamper purchased in 2004 from a contractor in Omaha, New England. Tie crane, brought on by a member of West Florida Railroad in 2007 for the donation to the museum. The FGCX tanker car XEX Southern Seaboard Coastline Yellow Record Train Crew tanker car, tender capacity 2,500 gallons of diesel oil, 7,500 gallons of water, used in the museum for firefighting during the month of steam and mobile water storage. The FGC X 8601, 89-foot X trailer on flat car used primarily for spreading ties along the right-of-way. And my notes. We're going to make some flashcards of these. That's what I'm going to do to learn it. That concludes the Florida Railroad Museum, car host training.